Hey, this is Todd. Welcome to the Lyceum Weekly Update number 11 for the week of February 24th, 2014. I have the mic on the table, so now my hands can go around and be whatever they want to be. I want to be a unicorn. Shut up! Gonna start off in a bit of a different way. We're gonna be doing some announcements. Starting off with, from today, the lockout laws are in. So that means from 1:30 AM you can no longer just go to another venue and do whatever you want. From 3 AM you cannot be served alcohol from the venue. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens this weekend when everybody's going to be out enjoying not only gigs, but the Mardi Gras. That's going to be like, will 1:30 roll around and then the city's going to be dead? I don't know. So we'll see what happens. But make sure that you know that they're coming in so you don't go out for a smoke or something like that, and then you can't get back into the venue. Also, another announcement, more like a rant or something like that. Okay, so, Soundwave, they lost 6 bands cancelled for various reasons, some of them very decent reasons, some of them not so. Those 6 bands were Megadeth, Newstead, Desaparecidos, Seven Dust, Stone Temple Pilots, and Whitechapel. And then most recently, Thy Art Is Murder came into the news a little bit. They're an Australian band where they kind of told the people in the crowd to fuck up security and get on stage, and then 100 people went to rush the stage. As a result of that happening and put security at risk, they were threatened that they were going to be kicked off the tour, although that didn't actually happen. They're staying on the tour anyway. But as a result of riling up the band, AJ Matter went to Twitter and decided to say, "And that is why we do not have many Australian bands on Soundwave. Disrespectful arseholes." Really? Really, AJ Matter? You lost 6 bands. 6 bands cancelled on your festival. Big international bands. You have nothing to say about that? Australia bands are the disrespectful arseholes? I have been amazed that from the cancellations of bands from this year that AJ Matter hasn't had a hissy fit over every single one like he does every year when a band cancels. It seems like he can't handle a band like disregarding him or saying no to his festival. I mean, just look at 9 Inch Nails. 9 Inch Nails didn't even cancel, they just said no, we don't want to do it. And AJ Matter went on Twitter and was like, "They didn't want to play for me!" Well, at least that's how I read it. I don't know about everyone else. But through all these cancellations of bands, a hardcore metal band acting like a hardcore metal band and doing something fucking stupid is a step too far. Ooh, they've done too much. And then later on, AJ Matter went to Twitter and replied because, you know, Twitter is his only outlet for anything, announcements, diatribes, private meetings, whatever. Which, side note, Megadeth decided not to do it, and AJ Matter's idea is to tweet at Dave Mustaine and say, "Why are you doing this, man? Like, we were friends, you know, talk to me. You're on Twitter! Don't sound like a 14-year-old scorned girl whose boyfriend won't reply to him. Her. Because AJ Matter is the girl in this case. In his reply, which, by the way, I'm going to include and say any of the spelling mistakes that he made, he said, "I was just pissed. Didn't really mean it. Wad third problem of the day involving Oz bands." Ah, okay. That's alright. He didn't mean it. Thank God. Now he can go back and do what he does for Australian bands. Wait, what does he do for Australian bands again? Oh, that's right! Jack! For a man who's slowly getting his hands into every facet of major festivals in Australia, he's part of Big Day Out. He was doing his Harvest Festival, but then that got cancelled and he decided to blame Big Day Out for it, because, you know, if people don't like his festival, obviously it's someone else's problem. Or his Soundwave Revolution that was going to be real metal, and then one band cancelled and another band announced a band that hadn't been announced yet, so he decided to cancel the whole thing because, you know, fuck it. He would be the worst thing for Australian music, for any band that was to go onto a festival and gain greater recognition. Because he has a problem with, like, bands that don't act professionally. Pick better bands! There are plenty of bands who would kill to have a professional gig at a festival and act in a way that makes them a good band. Why on earth would you pick the band who would act like dipshits? It's pretty easy to tell which bands would act like dipshits. You don't suddenly give them a stage and they suddenly go wild and just want to make everyone do dumb shit and jump off the stage and break equipment. Speaking of which, Dillinger Escape Plan, whichever year it was that they were playing, they destroyed their fucking stage. The singer climbed the side of the stage and blew out the PA. The next band couldn't go on for 20 minutes because the fucking PA was blown out just because the singer wanted to fuck up the set. Nothing happened there. They didn't get threatened to get kicked off. AJ Matter didn't have a hissy fit over what Dillinger Escape Plan did. Didn't say that all international bands are disrespectful assholes. So where's the continuity? What's his problem with Australian bands? He picks a few dumb bands. Pick better bands. Pick the bands who want to be there, who deserve to be there. Okay, so the point of this mini rant is this. The most, somehow, powerful man in the music festival industry in Australia doesn't like Australian bands, doesn't want to help them, doesn't want to give them much of a chance for anything, and regularly craps on those Australian bands. He has somehow risen to power through being an unprofessional, short-tempered, cry first, take it back later, I'll help you if I like you, but fuck you if I don't, steaming pile of personified vitriol. And he has support, because people seem to fear that he might go away and the entire festival scene will crumble and we'll never get bands to come here because everybody likes him? Why bother with a businessman who makes enemies of bands who don't do what he wants, and takes no personal responsibility for the things that he says? If he takes it back, then obviously it didn't matter. I know I'm not bothering. And this isn't a call to action for, like, you know, come on to my side, us versus them, with me or against me. I am a very small, insignificant thing in a giant puddle. But in my own spectrum of morality, I choose to support those who would support me where I stand in the live music scene. Okay, breathe. Okay, what's the next thing? I'm not done ranting yet. Venom! People remember Venom, don't they? The metal rock thing. That's having its relaunch. Everybody's excited, everybody's getting pumped. Venom's coming back. Did you know that Venom doesn't do live music? Some people don't seem to realise that. Venom is just a DJ gig to play the kind of rock and metal songs that you can gain the same experience from if you sat in your car and turned the volume up to all the way to maximum 11. Venom used to do live music, Venom used to be really good, and then it stopped. When I started doing the gig guide, Venom had live bands because I was including the Venom gigs, and then suddenly it just stopped. And there weren't any live bands anymore. It was just a DJ gig to play the same bands week in and week out. And Venom's relaunch is the exact same thing. It's a DJ gig to play rock and metal bands that you've heard before. Let's hear Guns N' Roses, let's hear Metallica, let's hear Slipknot, yay! So for those of you who are metalheads and enjoyed the old days of Venom where they used to have live music, here's a couple of choice gigs that are on that are also would be mentioned later on in this video because they're special gigs. The first is Metal at the Boldface Stag with Amodus, Siren Lions, Village Echoes, and it's also Stella Green's single launch. Or if you don't want that metal, then go to the other kind of metal at the Valve Bar, because, you know, Valve Bar took over the Agincourt and they do live music, unlike some things that were at the Agincourt. And those metal bands playing at the Valve Bar, Amora, Paralysis, Abassination, Cerebral Contortion, Hazmat, and is also Sabertongue's final show ever. Both of those gigs are far more beneficial to the live scene than Venom ever will be unless they change their format. Okay, different kind of announcements now. The Lyceum is supporting its first ever gig. Officially supporting. They have a little logo on their event poster and everything. It's a gig to celebrate the launch of Dark Sun Entertainment. You can find the link to them in the description below. It is on March 21st, $12, a bunch of rock and metal acts, including In Hide Shadow, Cordia, Domino, and Melody Black. It's going to be at the Valve Bar. And it's probably a good way to get in with the guys who put up Dark Sun Entertainment if you're a band who want to get on with their agency. And last announcement, I promise. In a couple of weeks, I'm going to be on the radio! I've even started practicing my radio voice. It's going to be a fortnightly to start segment on Radio Northern Beaches. That's on 88.7 FM or 90.3 FM. You can also stream them online through their website. And I'll be going over upcoming gigs, interesting things to look out for, extra tidbits like that. And there'll be more announcements to do with that closer to the date. Now, let's kick off with what we actually came here for, launches! On Thursday, we have an indie pop rock album launch at the Oxford Art Factory in Sydney with Papa vs. Pretty. Then on Friday, it's the metal single launch at the Boldface Stag with Stella Green, as well as an alternative folk rock single launch at Brighton Up Bar in Darlinghurst with Ernest Ellis. Also on Friday, there is a jazz album launch at the Camelot Lounge, Marrickville, in the Django Bar, which is upstairs or downstairs at the Camelot Lounge, either one. And that is with Spyglass Gypsies. Then there is a blues rock album launch at the Fitzroy Hotel in Windsor with Monster Guitars. Then on Saturday, there is a singer-songwriter EP launch at the Mars Hill Cafe with Tash Eloise. That's it for launches. A bunch of special gigs are happening during the week. On Wednesday, the Vibrations Band Comp is still going at the Valve Bar, so if you want to catch the bands and vote for the ones that you want to see get through, enjoy some new talent, then head to the Valve Bar on Wednesdays. On Thursdays, Sketch the Rhyme is having another gig. It's hip-hop with live art to do with the hip-hop. It's a really cool kind of concept happening at the Basement in Circular Quay. I believe my phone made a sound then. I don't know if you heard it, but if I can't hear it, I'm probably going to edit this out anyway. Then on Friday, I don't usually mention tribute gigs, but this is the kind of tribute gig that I never really see happen. It's Lou Reed, Velvet Underground, Nico, and Iggy Pop tribute. That's happening at the Brass Monkey in Cronulla. So if you're into those kind of bands, that kind of music, not an often tribute that you see coming along, so probably a good idea to go check it out. And then there is also the final show for Sabertongue, that's happening at the Valve Bar in Sydney with other metal bands. Then on Saturday there's going to be a venue launch. In Parramatta there's going to be a new venue called the Collector Tavern. They're starting to do live music and they're kicking it off with some alternative and progressive rock. And there is also Love Cult 2000. It's an alternative queer pride party going across 3 rooms at the Metro Theatre with rock, folk and pop. And finally SFX are celebrating their 4-year anniversary. That's happening at the St. James Hotel, which hosts SFX, with a bunch of hardcore rock bands. And finally, onto news. There's only one news thing this week, which is probably good since I took up a chunk of this video just ranting. And it's talking about Cherry Rock, the rock festival that started in Melbourne, happens on the AC/DC lane. That's coming to Sydney for 2014. It will start Saturday the 31st of May, happening at the Factory Theatre in Marrickville. It's going to be using all of the internal and external space of the Factory Theatre, which I think will make it about 3 stages. There has been a bit of concern for expanding Cherry Rock at a time when festivals aren't doing that well, but if you look at stuff that we've done before, it's the bigger festivals that really have to have that concern. Smaller festivals that focus on more local talent, they're going gangbusters. Because I guess that majority local bands on festivals are a good thing, but that doesn't matter, they're all disrespectful assholes anyway. The Cherry Rock for 2014 lineup includes the Meat Puppets from the USA, Redcoats, Gay Paris, Chris Russell's Chicken Walk, King of the North, Beast Wars from New Zealand, Child, Drunk Mums, Bitter Sweet Kicks, The Harlots, Don Fernando, and there's more to be announced. Do you agree with my rants that AJ Matter is really just a 14-year-old girl in disguise who can't handle rejection of any form? Or that Venom returning really isn't a great signal for the live music scene because they don't do live music? And an extra question, would you like us to cover a larger range of news? We focus a lot on the local scene with nothing really in between. If stuff's happening in Melbourne, if it doesn't affect the Sydney scene, I don't include it. If stuff's happening with big festivals, if it doesn't matter to the local music scene, I don't include it. Do I need to include more stuff about what's going on nationally to do with bigger festivals, to do with stuff that's not necessarily to do with Sydney? Let me know in the comments below or on any of the social media that we are on. Everything is linked in the description below. And finally, Band of the Week this week are a metal band that really just like taking the piss out of everything. They just released a music video. They're called Do I Scare Ya? Their music video is linked in the description below as well, and stick around to the end of the video to hear a clip from that video. For any of you who have ever wondered, the aroma of a llama, it is important to stick around to the end of this video. And that's all for me from this week. Share this around, show it to AJ Matter, because I'm sure that he'll just call me a pissant who doesn't know what he's talking about, which, you know, I am a pissant, but I know what the fuck I'm talking about. But I mean, really, what can he do? I'm going to destroy your career in the local live music scene. Oh, maybe you should have had a hand in the local live music scene, then you could actually do shit to me. Like and subscribe to the video, share it around. I will see you next Monday with another slew of launches and news. Until then, be good.
Pretty sweet on a llama farm, running round on the paddocks all day. Really neat on a llama farm, get lost and make tricks all day with the smelly